All right, well, I think I have everything set up and ready to go, so I'm just going to go ahead and begin. But before I commence my panel, I would just like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Kaurna land and that they are the traditional custodians and of the land that we meet and gather on, and that we respect, sorry, I didn't rehearse this part very well. And I would also like to acknowledge their connection to the land and sea. We pay our respects to all Aboriginals, past, present, and emerging. Additionally, for those of you who aren't aware, today is International Women's Day. So I would just like to give a shout out to all of my furry sisters who are here at A2 today. All right, so a little bit about myself. My name is Oliver, and my persona is a deer named Gallo. Some of you may have seen it on the blurb in your books, etc., etc. I've been in the fandom as an outsider looking in for a number of years. So I first discovered furries when I was sort of in my early to mid-teens, and then discovered at least the online community soon thereafter. But aside from that, I didn't really have much of a connection to the furry fandom. It was very much just myself, a couple of friends who were also furries, and then the online side of the fandom. In my early years at university, my late teens, and I am a grey muzzle in case that wasn't obvious already, I did happen to encounter some more furries at a LAN party. Do people still do LAN parties anymore? Is that a thing? No. Good, good. So we were at a LAN party. I happened to sort of out myself as a fur there, and turned out there were some other furs. We formed a little group. But again, no real connection to the community at large. My only real connection to the furry fandom was from an online perspective. And shortly thereafter, I actually dipped out of the furry fandom for a number of years before rejoining it more recently, particularly in regards to the local community, the SA First community. I went to a couple of meetups, started attending, meeting new folks, and the rest, as they say, is history. I'm a music fur. I play and teach piano, though the SA Furs probably know me better for my antics on violin. I also like to compose and study music just generally. I'm also a teacher, not just a piano teacher, but a performing arts teacher amongst, in the past, other roles. And I am aware that there is at least one former student of mine in attendance at A2 today. I'm not going to out that individual, although they have already come and seen me. So thank you very much to that person. It is great to see, former students growing and flourishing. In fact, I can see the student in question right now. I'm not looking directly at them in order to preserve their identity. They say, write what you know. And so I've chosen to present my panel in a style, well, actually, to be honest, from seeing the other panels, it's actually not that different in style, but in a style that is most comfortable for myself, which is PowerPoint. Just a quick random aside, has anyone here attended a PowerPoint party? Couple of hands? All right. If you haven't, I strongly encourage you to try it. It sounds really boring, but bear with me. The idea is you and a bunch of friends, you all go away, make a short PowerPoint presentation, about 5-ish minutes, on a subject that is interesting or has meaning to you, and then you all take turns presenting it. It sounds really dull, but it has the possibility of just being really hilarious and entertaining. So strongly recommend it if you haven't tried it before. All right, on to the panel proper. So, what is anthropomorphism? And I'm not just saying that as a statement. I would genuinely like answers from the audience. I am a teacher after all. What is anthropomorphism? Who would like to have a stab at explaining it? Yes. When an object or animal gains the ability to walk or talk like a human. Have you been reading my notes, sir? So, bit of etymology to start with, because yeah, that was basically exactly correct. So, bit of etymology. Anthropomorphism is derived from the Greek words anthropos, meaning human, and morphe, meaning form. And I probably just butchered the pronunciation on those, so apologies, Harrison, if you're in the audience somewhere. Human form. I would also like to just clarify that the O, you know what, it actually doesn't, so that O actually has a tilde above it, but it should just be a horizontal line. But fortunately, it seems to look like that on the screen, so I don't look stupid. The E should also have a horizontal line, but unfortunately due to the limitations of the software I was using, I could not get those exact characters. But anyway, human form. And Oxford Languages defines it as the attribution of human characteristics or behaviour to a god, animal, or object. Not to be confused with personification, which is the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. Now, you might be looking at those two definitions and be thinking, well, what the chuffing heck is the difference? The difference being, personification is something non-human attributed with human characteristics. For example, the winter was so merciful to us this year, only 8 of our 14 children perished. Versus anthropomorphism, which is non-human beings or characters actively behaving in a human-like way. So what does that have to do with furries? A term commonly bandied around in the furry community is anthro. And typically, when people think of anthro, they think of something like this, which is not strictly correct, but is not strictly wrong either. Thank you to Kaya, who gave me permission to use this picture of her Sona, and the artist Shai Octavia. I had to move the watermark so it was visible. Shai Octavia is also present. I realized I didn't actually ask Shai Octavia either. I probably should have done that. So, this is Kaya's persona, and this Sona is exhibiting a lot of the traits that we would associate with anthropomorphism. Upright, hands and digits, wearing clothing and accessories. It's, oh, there they are. Can we give Kaya a round of applause and Shai Octavia a round of applause? Thank you to them for this lovely artwork. So, it's accurate, but also not accurate. Because, again, anthropomorphism is non-human entities exhibiting human-like behaviors, walking and talking, facial expressions, gestures, use of technology, clothing, social structures. We're going to get all into it today. So I like to imagine anthropomorphism as being something like a sliding scale with different gradually changing categories. I was even going to make a graphic for it, but I was lazy and I didn't. So instead I made this. So the first level of anthropomorphism is what we just saw, anthro, where you have clear animal traits, and we're not just talking a human with ears and a tail like I'm dressed right now. That's more the realm of your kimono characters, anime, that sort of thing. We're talking like actual humanoid animal, has hands and feet. That sounds like a very specific point, but there's a reason for it. I will come back to that. And these kinds of characters are popular as TV, movie, and video game characters. For example, Disney's Robin Hood, who we saw just earlier in the furry trivia. Sonic the Hedgehog, or the Khajiit from the Elder Scrolls series. Now, I mentioned that half of my panel is basically just videos from YouTube, and I wasn't lying. We're going to watch some videos from YouTube. First, let's have a look at Fox, starring in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I say Fox and then it's immediately Diddy Kong. So we've got the R-Wing, technology. Oh, you can really feel that bass. No, I am not going to explain what is going on here live. Put your hand down. Clothing, technology, facial expressions, gestures, use of accessories, and technology. So there's Fox. Let's have a look at Maik from Skyrim. Any of you have probably played Skyrim before probably knows what's about to go down here.
The people of Skyrim. Many interesting things they say to each other.
And Sonic the Hedgehog.
The fox is onto something.
Huh? Rouge? How did you get in here?
He played you for a fool, Blue.
Please.
What would he need a massive explosion in that area for? Well, I have a hunch. You see, I've been searching for years for a super rare and
Technology,
shiny gem called the
clothing,
Paradox Prism.
Human-like
Paradox
expressions,
prism?
gestures.
Legend speaks of untold
Living in
power, and
buildings
it's
and
very deep
houses.
within the Green Hill bedrock. My guess is that he used your power against you to try to find it.
Fascinating. But what I really want to know is, how did you get in here?
You left the door open.
So,
Gather your crew and...
the next stage of anthropomorphism is what I deem the upright animal. Now, visually, these kinds of characters are very similar to the anthro category. However, the key difference is that they retain their animalistic appendages, things like paws, claws, talons, even their head structure may be slightly more animalistic, if that makes sense, in style. Again, these kinds of characters are popular choices for characters in children and family films like Disney, DreamWorks, Don Bluth, that kind of thing, TV shows. Examples would include Zootopia, Don Bluth characters like Mrs. Brisby in The Secret of Nim, Banjo from Banjo and Kazooie. Not Kazooie though. Kazooie would probably fall more into the next category we're going to look at. And my personal favorite, the Healer family from Bluey, or really just all of the characters from Bluey, though it is interesting that it's only the canines in that show that exhibit like anthropomorphism, but we're not going to deep dive into that. I'm deep diving enough as it is. Let's have a look at some examples.
Wow, you are one hot dancer. Chipoco.
So again, you can still see like the paws.
Chipoco!
He's kind of got his hooves
Wait,
as
is that
fingers.
Gazelle? No!
I'm Gazelle, and you are one hot dancer.
You have the app too?
Again, when he points, you'll see like
I'm working on the missing mammal cases.
The lighting
yes,
is
of course.
brilliant.
About that, sir. Officer Hops just called. She found all of them.
You can see Clawhouse
Wow,
actually
I'm
has
impressed.
paws. They're not like stylized hands. They're outright paws.
Get your popsicle.
Tool usage, jobs, clothing,
That mean?
facial expressions. Again, you'll hear me banging on about this a lot.
Have a lead.
Nick has actual paws, not feet. His leg structure is very animalistic in nature.
Me again.
Hey, it's Officer Toot Toot.
No, actually it's Officer Hops, and I'm here to ask you some questions about a case.
What happened, meter maid? Did someone steal a traffic cone? It wasn't me. Hey, carrots, you're gonna wake the baby. I gotta get to work.
This is important, sir. I think your $10 worth of popsicles can wait.
Ha! I make 200
Again, Judy's
bucks
got
a day,
actual paws,
Fluff.
not feet,
365
leg
days a
structure,
year since I was
animalistic in style.
12. And time is money. Hop along.
Please just look at the picture. You sold Mr. Otterton that popsicle, right? Do you know him?
I know everybody. And I also know that somewhere there's a toy store missing a stuffed animal. So why don't you get back to your box?
Fine. Then we'll have to do this the hard way.
Did you just boot my stroller?
Nicholas Wilde, you are under arrest.
Huh, for what? Hurting a few wings?
Felony tax evasion. Yeah, $200 a day, 365 days a year. Since you were 12, that's 2 decades, so times 20, which is 1,460,000, I think. I mean, I am just a dumb bunny, but we are good at multiplying. Anyway, according to your tax forms, you reported, let me see here, 0. Unfortunately, lying on a federal form is a punishable offense. 5 years jail time.
Well, it's my word against yours. 200 bucks a day, Fluff. 365 days a year since I was 12.
Actually, it's your word against yours. And if you want this pen, you're going to help me find this poor missing otter, or the only place you'll be selling popsicles is the prison cafeteria.
Oh, seriously? What? Oh no, I thought I tested this. It was going to be a clip from the Bluey episode Dad Baby, wherein Bandit has found their old papoose, and Bingo climbs inside, and she pretends to be a baby, and that Bandit has to pretend to be pregnant, and then he goes around doing various tasks throughout the day while pretending to be pregnant. Fun trivia fact about that episode, it was actually banned in the US for at least a year. I think a couple of years, but last I checked, they did finally unban it. Now that I think about it, I was putting this presentation together using a VPN, and it was based in the US. So clearly that video was only visible in the US. I guess I played myself on that. But speaking of VPNs, I would like to introduce us all to today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. 15 different factions, more than 700 champions to choose from, 21 stages, and other exciting stuff. This panel is not actually sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Please do not report them to me. I cannot afford for Raidy Shady to pay me another visit in the night. All right, moving on. Dang it, I really wanted to show that episode from Dad Baby. It's one of my favorite episodes. Clip from Dad Baby. All right, so we've had anthropomorphic animals, humanoid animals. We've had upright animals, which are basically literally animals that have stood up and started behaving like animals. So the next logical stage is animals, colloquially known in the furry fandom as feral. So we have animals that behave in human-like ways. They have human-level intelligence. They talk and demonstrate emotions and facial expressions in human-like ways. And they may, depending on their depiction, manipulate tools and human-made objects or technologies. Again, these kinds of characters are very popular in children and family films. Some examples include the dinosaurs from The Land Before Time, the My Little Pony characters, all generations, characters from the Madagascar film series, and the Lion King characters. Now, within this category, I like to imagine there as being several subcategories in and of themselves, in that some of these characters will exhibit more human-like traits than others. So if we look at the dinosaurs from Land Before Time, it mostly extends to just their facial expressions, their communications, and sometimes human-like gestures like shrugging or pointing. Then you've got the Lion King, which is more or less the same as what I just described, but then you also have things like social hierarchies, the concept of royalty, circle of life, that sort of thing. So it's like a step up from there. Moving on to the Madagascar series, characters in those films are seen to use human technologies, things like planes and stuff like that, and also have little social structures and stuff, as we'll see in one of our depictions shortly. And then the final category is the different generations of My Little Pony, which can vary depending on which generation you're looking at, varying from, haha, we're just some colourful ponies drinking tea in a castle, to straight up having like schools, civics, militaries, royalty, society. Let's have a look at some examples. Oh, thank goodness this one wasn't blocked.
I'm not sure anything we know is the same.
I needed this one to pad out my presentation by 4 minutes.
But I know one place that could never change.
So again, we're seeing that use of technology. We already saw facial expression.
Applejack?
What can I do for you?
It's so good to see you. We couldn't find Pinky or Rarity or Fluttershy or Rainbow Dash, but I just knew you'd still be here.
Of course I am. This is my home. But who in tarnation is Pinky Bow and Flutterdash? Or you, for that matter.
You don't know who I am?
Nope. Honestly, the only name I recognize is Rarity, but she left for Manhattan years ago.
Probably to become a world-famous fashion designer, I bet.
Not that I know of. Last I heard, she went to help with the cause like every pony else.
The cause?
The war against King Sombra and the Crystal Empire.
What?
Where have you two been?
Actually, it's when.
I know this is hard to believe, but you and I and those other ponies I mentioned are friends.
Did you bump your head on a crate of cider or something?
I'm telling you the truth. And if you come with me, I'll prove it.
In the United States, cider is non-alcoholic, sadly.
Well, I'll admit, I've lived in these here parts my whole life, and I've never seen this before.
There's also supposed to be a castle that goes with it.
But I still don't see what this has to do with you and I being friends.
Another pony named Starlight Glimmer used this map to travel through time and change things in the past. For some reason, the map's here, but everything else is different.
Different how?
Well, for one thing, where we came from, there's no war with King Sombra. Maybe you could tell us how the war started. Then we can figure out when everything changed.
That's easy enough. When the Crystal Empire returned, it brought King Sombra back with it.
Original character, do not steal.
It didn't take long for him to force every one of his subjects to fight for him against Equestria.
Pretty sure there's at least one child soldier in that army. Gotta keep it family friendly, so no blood, no guts. My favorite military tactic, Big Rock.
And even with Princess Celestia leading the charge, it still takes every last pony in Equestria doing their part,
war,
working
military,
day and
social
night
class and
to
structure.
keep up the fight.
I just can't believe it. We stopped King Sombra. You and me and all of our friends.
But we aren't friends. At least not here.
Right.
Look, I hope all this helped, but I really need to get back to canning those apples.
Thank you. We're going to set things right.
I hope you do.
So, how are we gonna set things right?
I don't know!
Meanwhile, we've got Madagascar.
Hey, what's going on here?
Marty!
Hey, listen up. Alex is in big trouble. We got to get upriver fast.
What about the plane?
Perfect, come on.
The plane won't be fixed until the suits meet our demands. Now, about maternity leave.
Maternity leave? You're all males.
Look, we need that plane for a rescue mission.
Well, there's nothing I can do until we bust up this union.
I'm gonna get the
Union
busting up
busting,
all of you if you don't
social
get this
class.
plane going.
Can't you see these commies have my hands tied here? No
Economic,
maternity leave.
Classes.
Maybe a certain someone wouldn't want these blowing around on the savannah? Hmm?
All right, you get your maternity leave.
Finally.
Using technology, etc., etc. And then Lion King offers a
Look,
simpler version.
Everything
of
the light touches
anthropomorphism.
is our kingdom.
Where you can really hear the
A
basiness of
king's
his
time
voice.
as ruler rises and falls like the sun. One day, Simba, the sun will set on my time here
Simba,
and will
am your
rise
father.
with you as the new king.
And this'll all be mine?
Everything.
This is Sienna.
The light touches. What about that shadowy place?
That's beyond our borders. You must never go there, Simba.
But I thought a king can do whatever he wants.
Oh, there's more to being king than getting your way all the time.
There's more?
Simba. Everything you see exists together in a delicate balance. As king, you need to understand that balance and respect all the creatures, from the crawling ant to the leaping antelope.
But Dad, don't we eat the antelope?
Yes, Simba, but let me explain. When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass. And so, we are all connected in the great circle of life.
One of those parties is getting a much better deal in that exchange than the other. So far, we've looked at anthropomorphism as shown in living creatures. But as was explained both at our discussion at the beginning and me showing up Oxford languages, dictionary, whatever, anthropomorphism extends beyond into objects as well. So I put forward the two subcategories of inanimate, starting with inanimate human-like characters. These are objects that can speak and communicate. They have the ability to show facial expressions. Shape permitting, they will use human-like gestures. And these kinds of characters are popular in kids. In fact, you get the point. Some examples of this kind of character would be the furniture from Beauty and the Beast, the furniture from Beauty and the Beast, and the furniture from Beauty and the Beast. Admittedly, if I had sat down and actually thought and researched that one a bit more, I probably could have come up with some examples. I think the map from Dora the Explorer would probably count as well, but I kind of wanted to do it for the meme. Let's have a look. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you listen to the whole song.
Ma chère mademoiselle, it is with deepest pride and
Can I lose
greatest
sound?
pleasure that we welcome you tonight. And now, we invite you to relax.
Yeah, no, I was
pull up
playing.
a chair as the dining room proudly presents your dinner. Be our guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin round your neck, chérie, and we provide the rest. Soup du jour, hot hors d'oeuvre. Why, we only live to serve. Try the gray stuff, it's delicious. Don't believe me? Ask the dishes. They can sing, they can dance. After all, miss, this is France. And a dinner here is never second best. Go on, unfold your menu, take a glance, and then you'll be our guest. We, our guest, be our guest.
I've always wondered, is the candle like a Charmander? Like, if you put out his fires, will he die? I haven't watched the movie in years, so someone can probably answer that for me. All right, as I say, I'm not going to make you listen to the whole song. Let's keep moving on. So the other side of that coin is inanimate but non-human-like. These objects are mute, except for the singing dishes. We don't talk about the singing dishes in the previous video. And they use human-like gestures to communicate or interact their intent. Examples of this would be the cloak of Dr. Strange's cloak of levitation, the carpet from Aladdin, magic carpet, or the ocean from Moana. So if we have a look at this scene from Doctor Strange, I'm just going to skip ahead because most of it's just fighting. It's very dark. Oh wait, no, I went too far. So we've got the cloak of levitation, you know, blocking an attack. And then a bit further on, Stephen's like, oh, battle axe, I need one of those. No, don't go for the battle axe. You can see the cloak of levitation is restraining him, pointing to him to a more effective weapon, etc., etc. So, basic human-like communication, even though it can't talk. The carpet from Aladdin, which, funnily enough, was the inspiration for the cloak of levitation in the MCU.
This stuff would make me rich. Anything. We gotta find that lamp. Boy, will you knock it off?
So we've got stuff like sneaking, creeping, pulling pants, using the tassels like hands.
Are you crazy?
Hiding, appearing shy.
Carpet. Come on out. We're not gonna hurt you.
Cuddling in on itself, looking apologetic. Again, using the tassels like hands, they even form fingers.
Hey, take it easy. A buoy's not gonna bite. Thanks.
talking.
Hey, wait a minute, don't go. Maybe you can help us.
So again, despite the inability to communicate verbally and not having a face with which to express facial expressions and emotions, the body language and the gestures, you can still see are human-like in nature. So it's still a degree of anthropomorphism, even though it is just an inanimate object. So those are sort of the 5 what I like to call main categories of anthropomorphism. But some people argue that there's a further couple of categories, being robots and aliens. However, I personally argue against this. The main reason being is that robots and aliens are human inventions or concepts. Specifically, I'm talking about fictional aliens here. If and when we encounter real aliens, I'm happy to go back and revise this stance. But my rationale is that a robot is a human invention. So if you build a robot to be human-like in nature, you have already bestowed upon it in its natural state human-like characteristics. Whereas anthropomorphism deals with taking something that is distinctly non-human and then applying human-like traits to it. So if we look at, say, the Asari from Mass Effect, or pick any random Star Wars alien race or what have you, they behave in human-like ways. They have social structures and they use facial expressions, they wear clothing and use technology, all of the things that I've been banging on about throughout this presentation. But those were all human-made concepts. So they were anthropomorphic by design. Now, you could argue if you took something, a distinctly non-human-like alien, say the Xenomorph from the Alien series, and then you gave it anthropomorphic traits. Maybe you make it walk upright and talk, or something to that effect. I mean, who knows? We might even have a person with a Xenomorph persona at the convention today. Then you can make an argument that that's been anthropomorphized. But if you take something that's naturally human-like by default, I would argue that you can't say, well, that's anthropomorphic because it was created that way. I'm probably just confusing things and muddying the waters. So let's just move on to our assessment. You will now be assessed on your knowledge of anthropomorphism. This is a closed book test, and you will be graded on your penmanship. The test is here. It is a hard copy. You will be graded out of 15. No, I'm not actually going to make you take the test. However, if you would like to actually unironically take the test and be graded on it, I would be more than happy to. But I'm not actually going to force the audience to. I feel like most of you have had your fill of school for one lifetime, maybe 2 or more. So instead, I'm going to turn things over to you because I've been going, oh, dang it, I should have rambled a bit longer than normal. And in my best run, I was able to stretch this out to 40 minutes, but I'm only up to 33. So hopefully I've got lots of interested questions. Actually, then again, we did start behind schedule, so lots of interested questions and comments. Oh, I realized something I did forget to clarify. Should have done this at the start of the presentation. I am by no means an English major, history major, etymologist, entomologist, entomemologist. I'm just a casual person who likes to hyperfixate on personal interests and research them. So it is quite possible that I've gotten one or more things in this presentation wrong. Do not take my words as gospel. Rather, just use them to perhaps broaden your understanding of the knowledge and the meaning of the word anthropomorphism, and hopefully walk away with some more knowledge in your brains. But as I say, does anyone have any questions or comments about anything I presented here today? Yes. Good question. Do I have any resources that I would suggest or recommend for further reading or knowledge on this subject? Absolutely not. I Googled a couple of things and then I figured out the rest on my own. So, really good question. Perhaps the rest of you can go away and become even better informed and researched about this than I am. Any other questions? Yes. Actually, really good point. And it was covered in the definition. The comment was that I missed the idea of anthropomorphizing concepts, ideas. And that is very much true. because we did talk about, when we look in those Oxford definitions, how concepts can be anthropomorphized. The reason I unconsciously, I swear, didn't cover those is because typically they do tend to fall more into personification, but that's not to say you cannot anthropomorphize a concept. So that is a fair point. I could have added an additional category to that sliding scale that I never actually put together. No, that will not qualify for extra credit on the test, I'm sorry. All right. And lastly, before I finish, this is something else I should have mentioned. I should have written in some notes of some kind. I'd like to thank A2 and the Modmins for having me here today. This is also sort of a continuation on what I was saying about the SA Furs earlier, about how I more recently became part of the community. My understanding of the history is that up until recently, it was kind of a few separate, disparate groups on different social media platforms, Facebook, Telegram, Discord, and then the various mods and admins, nowadays called the Modmins, sort of got together and collectively pulled the communities together, granting us what is now the SA First community. So it's thanks to them that we're able to have fantastic and amazing events like this, and why I'm here to be able to ramble for the better part of an hour at you about something I researched for collectively maybe double that. So big thank you to the Modmins, both for making the SA Furs community what it is, and also for putting on A2. So if you see any of them around today, make sure you give them a huge thank you. They absolutely deserve it. If there are no other questions or comments, then I reckon I shall leave it there. Thank you all very much.